Hello, Heather. Welcome to your first sit down with ERG TV from Enlighten Realty Group. Good to have you today.
Thanks for having me.
I wanted to get you here. Obviously, you're a big part of the team, and I wanted the world to get to know you a little bit. And I was thinking back when we first met, and we haven't talked about it in a while. I'm trying to remember the year. I know it was around 2011 or 12-ish.
Yep.
And where did we meet? We'll see if you remember.
Well, I came up to Wisconsin from the Chicagoland area. That's initially where I grew up. I'm actually from California, Southern California, Orange County, Anaheim. And then when I was like 7, my mom decided to move us across the country. She has Midwest roots. She's from Indiana. So she did partially grow up here and then half in California for her childhood.
Okay.
And that's what kind of moved me and my brother back out. She was a single mom, needing to get away from a situation that we were in with my biological father that was not safe.
Got it.
So moved us out here, grew up in the Chicagoland suburb area, moved all around there, and then eventually had a job opportunity free up to bring me up here in 2011 with my brother.
Okay.
My brother and his wife were going to a church up here, very heavily integrated into that with his mother-in-law, my sister-in-law's mother, and
Miss Sandy?
Miss Sandy.
Yeah,
Miss
she was
Sandy
one of the
does it.
first connections I had there.
She does.
In fact, the first day I met her, I sliced off the tip of my finger and she took me to the hospital.
That sounds about right. That's her. She's definitely an Italian mama.
Yeah.
And I had heard about you through her on my visits through holidays periodically throughout the years since they'd been married, coming up to Wisconsin to see my family, my brother and her. And then I'd moved up to 2011 and she was gracious enough to let me stay with her for a little bit until I really got to know Milwaukee and the suburbs of like where I wanted to, get an apartment. And stuff.
Oh, I didn't know that part.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She let me stay there. I paid rent there because that was what, I felt was fair.
Right.
And so did she. And I said, yep, I'll pay for, rent and my groceries and stuff. So that worked out. It was a great arrangement. And then in the meantime, while I was living there, that I kept hearing about you from her because that was when she was really heavily involved with her church and the kitchen. Because obviously, as you know, her gift is cooking.
Correct.
And the kitchen. And that's where her heart is. That's where a lot of her love comes from, right? With people. Is she loves to feed them.
Right. She does. So I used to see you, was it Thanksgiving, Christmas, or both?
Thanksgiving first. And then sometimes we would do Christmas with the Guineers.
Okay.
Would come over.
Right.
And we would do like a Christmas Eve get together. And then they would open presents as a family.
Got it.
And yeah.
Well, I'm sure she had some good stories about me. She used to always love my KGBC stories of my previous life.
Oh, yeah?
So I don't know if you get to hear many of those or not.
No, sort of. She kind of in general talked about your background, but more so she just loved working with you. Mm-hmm. And she always talked about you in a high manner and regarded you as just a great friend to work with. And she... Every week she looked forward to coming to the kitchen at her church with you.
That's great. So, yeah. I mean, she was a volunteer.
Yeah.
She didn't get paid. She was there.
Yeah.
It's funny. The hardest working people there were the older people. I was like, where are the kids and why aren't they stepping up?
Yeah.
But
no, I remember
always
that.
The older people.
Yeah. I think you were like the youngest. I think in that
I
kitchen
definitely
at the time.
was.
Yeah.
I definitely was younger by like 30 years or so.
Yeah. And then as I started working and I was still there with her in the house, she was like, hey, do you want to do some side gigs with me and KG? And I'm like, all right, sure. She's like, you want to cater a couple birthdays or a wedding?
Yes.
And that's what it was.
Wedding.
We did the big wedding.
The one in the barn?
At the Pabst Brewery.
Oh, yes.
And that was like crazy because it was summer.
We fed like 250
oh my
people
gosh.
at least
it was
at
packed.
A wedding.
It was hot. Mm-hmm. And we had that little kitchen in the back that you and her were like whipping away stuff and prepping and
the good old days.
Yes. Yeah, that was a good time. I remember that.
So let's fast forward. So what was your last job before you got into real estate, and like what was your day-to-day like with that?
So my last job landed me working my way through the company since I had come up here in Wisconsin. My brother had actually initially worked for that company in industrial manufacturing. And we have made products that basically help run the world, from global mining to the food and beverage industry, conveying, shipping, logistics, a lot of things actually. Sister companies with aerospace bearings. So we had our hand in a lot of things due to the different entities that we all owned, the product lines. And then eventually I landed my way through a specific product line of engineered gearing.
Okay.
So that
sounds important.
It was very important, very technical, but I had a great team and a great group of people who were engineers and drafter designers. So they really did the legwork. And then it was my job to kind of put that all together in our systems for operations in the plant to build it.
Okay.
And build the designs that we had come up with. And so it was a very big collaboration that way. It was constant collaboration, a little bit of project management internally, and then externally as well with our internal customers like customer care and our project coordinators who worked on specifically only our projects of global mining projects. Essentially, it was a lot of global mining.
Got it. Looking back on it now, did that experience help you with what you're doing now in the real estate world?
Absolutely. I think everything that I've done in my background is absolutely culminated to this point in my life. I've dipped in hospitality, worked at a hotel front desk. That was one of my first careers. Loved it. Really get this broad exposure of humanity.
You see it all at the front desk.
And yes, you do. You are everything to everybody. You get blamed for everything, but you're also the person who they expect to, solve all those problems first. And then you delegate. So that kind of helped lead me into the career I had before real estate, to project manage and really get to know your people internally, your team, because it is very true that I've found that while you're not the expert to your customers directly, and maybe you don't know all the answers up front, that if you can know who to go to for those answers as support, as a team collaboration, that's huge. And that always helped me shine to my customers, bringing that value of, if I don't know the answer up front, knowing where to go to find those answers was huge. So that definitely helped me with this, where if I don't know all the answers up front, if I'm at a showing or
and that's what people are looking for. You'll be doing open houses. It's not our listing. We don't know the house as we would if it was our listing, right? But if you say, hey, you know what? I don't know that answer, but I'm going to get it for you. It goes a long way than trying to just make something up on the spot.
Absolutely. And I think, too, a lot of people appreciate the genuineness of that and the humanity part of you of that, of, no, I don't know everything, thinking you're going to get this ego when they walk in the door from you. And when you're not, you're just a person like they are. And I think when you present that way and you just keep it real with them, I've always found that helps me win over clients easily and pretty immediately, because it shows I'm a person too. I'm not perfect either. I don't know everything, but I know I have a great group of people and a great team of people I've surrounded myself with intentionally. That, help support me in the ways that maybe I'm not, perfect at or.
And I think you're always learning in this business.
Yes.
I know more. I learn, even at this point, I still learn every day.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the one thing I think too can relate to my previous career, is there's so many scenarios and opportunity for growth and learning. You're never going to know it all. Even if you've been in the business for, 15, 20 years, you're still never going to know it all, because something will come up that you're going to have to deal with that you haven't done with before. But you lean on your experience, as a professional to help guide you. And then, like I said, you reach out to your team for support to maybe help navigate the rest.
We've come across some people in this business that think they know everything, and they obviously don't, and it doesn't always end up that well. So, was there a point where you were like laying in your bed, or you were at your office one day? You're like, I this is a great job, but I feel like there's more out there. Or what was like your epiphany that said, you know what? Because it's a big deal to quit a salary paying job. I'm sure you had benefits. You had two salaries coming in at a time. You have young kids, so it's not always that easy just to pull the plug and say, all right, I'm done working and I'm going to go to a job that I only eat if I sell something. So what was your moment where you were starting to think about that and you ultimately made the decision?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was not something that I just did on the fly. I had been thinking about a career change for actually a long time.
Like, what do you mean? 3
Like,
years, 1
no, a
year?
very long time.
For,
Probably since I'd gone into this career and fell into industrial manufacturing.
okay.
When I kind of going back to industrial manufacturing to lead up to that point is I didn't want to do this job that I had started, but I needed to. I needed to just get my feet wet in the city and just get into a career to just start making money for myself, make a living to get established. And then I just decided to get good at it, right? And try to build my way through and figure out if there was something there for me that I could do that I was great at. And ultimately, I knew probably the direction I should have headed was outside sales, but it's a very rough industry in other ways, specifically for women.
Okay.
And I think we're not quite there yet in some ways. And I knew when I would have to visit job sites, there would be some, things I'd have to deal with that I just didn't want to because I'd already done that at the hotel.
Kind of a rougher
hospitality
environment?
industry.
Is that what we're thinking?
Sort of, but, just jokes you have to put up with as a woman, things like that. I had already done that. I didn't want to deal with that. So I knew for me that just wasn't something I wanted to deal with. So I had just been thinking about.
I'm going to go on record as saying that's sad that that still happens in today.
Very real.
Right.
And it's just because of, your people's perception of you or whatever. And so, you could tough it out and break the industry, but I just am old enough. I'm not starting in my career. I was old enough. Like, I'm not putting up with that. If anyone talks to me that way or treats me like that, I'm not going to say that that's okay because it's not okay.
Right.
So it just realized for me, I just had to keep thinking about like, what I'm passionate about, what do I care about, what I'm interested in. And it just really took me to kind of grow into my own life, meet somebody. I had my first child. And I thought about real estate a lot in the back of my head, but I just wasn't ready to make that financial move. Like you said, it really worried me to your point of having no income and then completely relying on something that is not really going to pay my bills up front. I didn't have a backup enough to lean on to be able to just completely leave my career in industrial manufacturing. So once I had a child, I talked with my spouse, obviously, and I wasn't happy and fulfilled in my career. I was good at it, but it wasn't fulfilling at all. It was interesting. It was technical, but the corporate space, I was done with. I didn't.
If you don't wake up and like actually want to go to do what you're doing, it'll be sad to look back on life. Like, man, I did that for 30 years. I hated it.
Right.
And you'll live with regret.
Absolutely. And I love the people I worked with. And I think that was part of it was I could go do this in another company, but it's the same thing, different company, same problems,
Correct. Same culture.
Same culture. And so it's to me, that's why I stayed because that wasn't the answer.
You knew it was going to be the same story, different place.
Right. So for me, it really had to just continue to do a deep dive in myself of, what do I really want in life? Like you said, where I'm going to wake up and go, this is awesome. I love what I do. I have the flexibility I want. I have the flexibility I need for my child and our schedule at home and the family life. Because that was part of it too, was I really felt pressured that I wasn't really allowed to take off. Like I had a great direct boss, but overall, there wasn't a great understanding of, when my kid gets sick a lot and daycare doesn't let her come.
Correct.
Or, the doctor appointments and everything else in between. So So yeah, I talked to my spouse about this is what I want to do. I think I want to get my license. And I had worked for land records for 8 years as one of my careers in a county in Illinois. So I knew all about title companies. I knew what all the documents looked like. I recorded them.
Yes.
So I was very familiar with the back end of the process. And I had always talked to realtors, talked to my title people who would come in, talk to my planning and development reps from the different municipalities. So I'd had that exposure and
That's
experience. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'd wanted to dip into this, but I just couldn't financially make that shift as a single person with my budget.
Right.
Um,
I think we had the conversation. We've met a few times before you pulled the cord. I remember meeting at Starbucks and obviously talking. And I believe I advised you to, I always want people to be set up for the business financially. So you should really have 6 to 8 months of reserve money set up. So if you don't sell a darn thing and things start out slow, you have money to get by. Now, not everybody needs 6 to 8 months. I've seen people sell stuff right away. Everybody's different. But to be conscious of your financial situation before you just quit a job is always smart.
yeah, absolutely. And that was one of the things we had discussed, me and my partner. So he was able to supplement my income for a little bit till I could, get going. And we had a schedule down where we could figure out most of my schedule to do a lot of the training to
Right.
onboard me. But first it started in real estate school, right? I had been looking for the right school. And I wanted to go in person because I like being kind of in person to get, especially with like law.
Where'd you
really
go
made me
for that?
nervous. I went to Shore West.
Oh, you took their training
did,
there.
yeah.
Yep, a
It
lot of
just-
people do that.
Yeah, he was great though. The instructor himself is a real estate attorney and a realtor, so it was great to just kind of get his experience and really pick his brain. And then also, it was the first networking, because I
You
still
were actually with people that wanted to do what you wanted to
yes,
do.
they were working professionals.
How many people were in the class about?
We had anywhere from 40
Oh, big.
to 25 people. Yeah,
And then how long did that last?
I decided to do it for about 4 months. It can take 8
Okay.
weeks, but I skipped a couple classes because of
Right.
Christmas break was in the middle there and whatever. So I decided to show up for those classes and also get a couple refreshers on the other courses just to make sure I understood the material to take the test, because I think everybody is nervous about taking the test, right?
Yes.
So took the test, and then I was about to talk to you to onboard, and then COVID happened. And I also had
That's right.
emergency surgery on myself that I didn't expect. So some life situations happened, and then it kind of delayed me. And right, the whole world is going into this huge closure and pandemic, and so it just delayed my choice. Obviously, I wanted security. We needed security as a family.
Right.
So I just put this on hold, and then picked it back up once we got through COVID. And
Yeah, I was fortunate I was on a really great team with Kristen Colwell, her regional director. She's like an $800 million a year team. And she's seen it all. She's seen all the shifts. She's been doing it 35 years. And everybody's like, all right, what's going to happen? COVID's here. And like that, she had a plan, and she's like, all right, we got to pivot. And in this business, you got to pivot. So she had a plan, and I ended up having a great year where everybody was scared and hiding in their house. I was like, I'm going out and selling houses. I probably sold 6 houses without even going in them. People were afraid to let me in the house. So I was like, send me pictures and videos so I can assess your updates, the condition of your house, so I can get the price for your house at least. And we sold their house and without even going in some of them. Now, that's not always the best idea. Obviously, we don't do that always. But during COVID, we adjusted to people's needs and their fears, and we helped them move on with their life. So
yeah, I found that was fascinating that people actually ended up doing this large migration to their next phase in life, right? And a lot of people did some reassessment of what they really wanted. And the same thing, they were doing a lot of life assessing
right.
with themselves and their families of, am I happy with doing this in my career, living here in this state, and moving. So it
Right.
was so funny how it did end up being like this big real estate boom in return. And then, like you said, you guys did an amazing job pivoting into that. Virtual showings and video showings, were much bigger.
Yeah.
And just a lot of locking down the rules and, the safety guidelines for, masking or booties and, other stuff. So that was kind of interesting to see.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
It was crazy. We were lucky to be, what did they call it? An essential employee.
Yes.
A lot of people weren't essential employees, but realtors were deemed essential employees, which kept us going. And I remember being on the freeway, going to people's houses, and I felt like it felt like one of those movies where the whole world disappeared because there'd normally be rush hour traffic.
Yeah.
And it would just be literally me on the freeway going to somebody's house.
Yeah, same. We were considered essential because of what we did as an industry. We literally made things that helped other people make things. So everything, mining, it didn't stop.
Right.
People need gas. You need metals, right? Like precious
Right.
metals and all of that. So, people are still eating and drinking things. So all of those things that run the equipment, is still an essential good.
Right. So let's fast forward. COVID, we figured that out.
Yeah.
And now you're doing real estate. How has it changed your life?
I am a lot more happier in the sense of my balance. It's definitely brought a lot more balance to my family life. It's brought flexibility that I've needed for my kids because they are so young. We did end up having a second one during
Yes.
COVID. So we did have a COVID baby.
The COVID baby.
We did. We got really fortunate after she was our rainbow baby. So
Right.
that was really neat.
I had one of those too.
Yeah. And so that was amazing. So getting able to kind of be more hands-on with her and seeing her grow up a lot more than I could with my first daughter because I was not home, 9 to 5 every day. It's been really neat. So it's just been nice too to make up some time once I left my job to spend time with my now 5-year-old, and take her on special things during the day. Because I
Right.
don't have any other place to be. I can be there with her.
That's good.
Yeah. So, and then just the exposure. I love my job, and sometimes even when the activity is a little slower, that's when I can just push in my flexibility with my family and my personal life. But otherwise, I still just like connecting with people on a human level. I love helping people. There's something about truly just being able to help someone achieve their dreams, and especially one of the biggest purchases they'll ever make in their life, right?
Right.
And one of the biggest investments they'll make in their life. And being able to help them make that happen is just awesome. Like, it's an honor and a privilege to be a part of that process. And it's exciting. It's nerve-wracking sometimes,
Right.
But I think when you're very collaborative too, right, and you keep the relationship with the other agent on the other side is huge. And I've had multiple agents tell me, one of the reasons why I end up getting some of the deals, obviously other terms and stuff on the contract side, but one of the other reasons why I end up winning it for my client is the relationship side. I'm communicative with the other agent. We correspond. I'm usually pretty quick about responding and giving answers or feedback.
Right. I think even before you get to the part where you have the deal, you're talking with them, you're having the lender call them, you're communicating. So I do the same thing. So my goal, if there's multiple offers and you want your client to win, I want to win in their mind before they even see my offer. So I'm talking to them 2 or 3 times. So in their mind, they want to work with us, right?
Yep.
And they haven't even seen the offer yet. So when you get that, what you're doing, and you send them a good offer,
Yep.
they have faith in you. So when they're presenting offers to their clients, they're not just like, here's 400, here's 420. They're like, oh, here's 430. And this is Heather. I've talked to her 2 or 3 times. The lender called me and we already have a good rapport. I'm pretty sure we're going to get to the finish line with this one easier than the other people that just emailed me the offer and I didn't even talk to them.
Yep. And that's pretty much happened to me. Every transaction I've had so far is that has been communicated to me from the other agent is
Right.
one of the reasons, we're really considering you is you've already called me a couple times before we sent the offer.
Yes.
And that is a big impression for a lot of agents. And some agents are annoyed by that, which kind of surprises me. Like, because why wouldn't you not
Right.
want to just kind of, like you said, hit the ground running and establish a precedence to begin with,
And it's
right?
not a big 20-minute conversation. It's like, hey, I'm Heather.
Yep.
I'm Kevin,
And you're just going
yeah.
over the deal. Like you're
Right.
going over with them of really general ideas of, like you said, what's going to work best for your client that you're representing, but also what's going to work best and look good to the, the seller or the buyer, right?
Right.
So yeah, it's just a conversation of getting to know you and just, figuring out how can we make this work? My client's really interested,
Perfect.
And like you said, getting to know the traffic potentially and a little bit about, the house if you're on the buyer side. So
Correct. We're in the winter in Wisconsin. What are you telling your clients right now? What, like your buyers, or do you got some on the fence? Where are we at?
I do have some buyers on the fence. Some are, out of state. They have some very big decisions to make, obviously, for their families. They have specific family goals that they're looking for, specific neighborhoods and things like that. But most of all, I think some are kind of on the fence due to interest rates, even though they're looking great lately in the last week or so.
Right.
I just did this myself too, because as you know, I just bought my first investment property.
Hooray to that.
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
very good.
I don't just, say what I say. I try to practice what I preach.
Right. And you had a higher interest rate, I'm sure, because it's investment property, right?
No.
No?
No, isn't terrible.
How'd you do that?
That's the thing. So one is good credit. We both
Right.
had really good credit. So that was great. And then we were able to bring some money to the table to put a significant down payment on. But also, we beat out 19 other offers.
Right. That's a big deal.
is
You
not
had
a
to beat
small thing.
19 other offers.
Right. There were like 50 plus showings just
Right.
based on the last communication I had with the listing agent. And then again, we had a very competitive match of an offer. But again, one of the reasons that, I think ours ended up going through was because we were easy to work with.
Right.
And that was part of one of the big deal breakers. It was a family that was looking to sell the property due to probate. And so they wanted something that was quick and people that were willing to work with them to get it to closing.
Right.
We had a solid lender. We obviously had a solid agent.
Right. So you used your game plan you used for your clients
Yep.
for yourself.
I did. And so I know that it works because it worked for me.
Right.
And every contractor so far we've had on the property has said, how did you get this property? Because everybody recognizes how good it is, how great of a deal it is. It's a double lot.
Right. In
And
a
was
nice
like, how much
area.
did you pay for this? And it's in a nice area. And we paid significantly under, what it was. And we made equity on the deal. We immediately made
away.
5,000 equity on the deal.
That's good.
So I'm already up. We bought our interest rate down. We did do the buy down program. And so I
Okay.
can tell you firsthand, it does work.
Nice. There you go.
And we did it for $1,000. So it's not like we had to put thousands of dollars down to buy down our rate.
Right.
We were able to do it for $1,000, which
is nothing.
nothing. And I mean, that's very affordable for most people, especially when you don't have a lot to bring to the table as well. And you're looking at your closing costs, your down payment, and all of that. So it was like, I think it was $500 she gave us per half a point.
Okay.
And so we were like, yeah, buy the whole point down. You
Right.
know? Like, that's easy.
I haven't heard much of that. That's cheap.
No, it was the cheapest I've heard of so
Right.
far. And I was like, yeah, that's like a no-brainer. We were like,
Who
done.
was it? Just shout her out. Who was it?
We went with Julie at Novice. She
Okay.
and her team, Trisha, are amazing because Julie actually happened to be going out of town for her wedding anniversary
Got it.
right when we were about to make the deal. And so Trisha really stepped in her place and
Great.
helped us just win that team. Her team was amazing. They were
I've
on
heard
it.
great things about them as well.
Yeah, they
I've
were
done
on
a
it.
feed with them too.
Absolutely. So, yeah, it was great. We went with, our options of what would be best for us. We ended up choosing conventional because we could.
Got it.
And the payment was, I want to say it's like principal and interest is like $700. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
makes a lot of sense.
it makes a lot of sense. So, the buy down works. Working with your agent and the other agents work. And taking advice from your agents who know how to help you navigate this market, it works.
Right.
Beating out other offers, it works. But you have to be strategic. We did work with them on terms, but it wasn't unreasonable considering what we wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as we got what we wanted and they wanted what they wanted, which was very minor and minimal, easy, right? We knew what we were getting into. So no inspection was easy for us. We had been there, done that with our
Right.
first home. So
And you knew you're going to rehab almost everything anyway.
yeah, we knew where the
Right.
value was. And we just happened to find out too, our corner neighbor behind that house is actually an inspection. He's an inspector himself in
Okay.
Milwaukee. So
Good.
he said he's been in that house.
That's good.
And he's like, you guys have nothing to worry about. I'm like, great. We just saved $500.
Excellent. Very good.
So yeah. So
let's talk 2024. What is your goal? How many families do you want to help in 2024?
I mean, ideally, I don't want to be conservative, right? I want to go big. I want to go for more because it's a great community we have. It's a great city we're in. It's a hot market. So far since I've seen COVID in our market and been in the industry since then, I have not seen us really dip down like you're seeing on the
Right.
East Coast and the West Coast.
Wisconsin's usually the last to feel the shift.
Yeah.
And we don't feel it as hard as most areas.
No, not even the difference in Chicago versus here, right?
Oh,
There's
it's big.
Yeah, big. Everybody's migrating out of Chicago. A lot of people in here because too, right? People usually move to and from Wisconsin, in Illinois, Chicago area,
Right.
and also Madison.
Well, they're getting taxed out of Chicago,
Yep.
right? Taxes are high.
And the city tax.
There's
Some of the
I could do a whole
laws.
podcast on why to leave Chicago, but I won't today.
I mean, I love city. That's the part that saddens me, right? Like I love Chicago. I grew up doing the Lights Festival and the train and the popcorn and all the things that make
Right.
Chicago magical during Christmas.
I remember that too.
The Walnut Room.
Yeah.
Amazing. Marshall Fields, the window displays, right?
Yeah.
Just excellent memories. And I just want to see that city thrive, right? As much as ours. And since I've been up here though, I've really grown to love Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we have that still. We have some of that special magic that
We
not
do.
everybody's discovered.
And it's easy to get around, right? It's not, it doesn't take 2 hours to get into this in and out of the city.
Don't tell everybody that.
Oh. Well, we could use a few more people here.
But I mean, that's the thing. We're hitting all the markers for that too. We're on Condé Nast for young professionals. We're making other young professional lists for top 5 cities to live and work in.
Okay.
I think even we made a Forbes list on that as well, I want to say, but don't quote me.
Yeah.
But I know we're hitting major publishing companies are talking about us. We just had an article actually in the Chicago Tribune about the Milwaukee Ballet even.
Okay.
How
Yeah.
it's so underrated and it's such a great, ballet company. And, shout out to one of our previous agents who's now one of their teachers, instructors over there.
Who's that?
Natalie Del Turi.
Oh, yes. I
So-
did see that.
Yep. So
Yeah.
she's rocking that school and they're getting that recognition for it, which is excellent. They put on a fantastic Nutcracker show from what I understand. And it's on my list to do with my daughters, as they get a
Is
little
that
older.
going as we speak?
Yeah, that's on as we speak. The
Okay.
Nutcracker.
Oh, I did see that when we was downtown last night. I think I saw some flyers for that.
Yep. At the Marcus Performing Arts
Yep.
Center, I believe. So, yeah. So, like you said, we have a great city. And I would love to help, back to your initial question, I would love to help 35 families.
Okay.
I think it's possible,
Good.
So,
Oh, definitely possible, especially the way you approach your business and how well you take care of people. We just got to get you out there meeting more people.
yeah, absolutely. And I
Right.
love collaborating, right, with things that I'm passionate about. I feel like that's where I work best from is a place of genuineness.
Mm-hmm.
So this past year I worked with, my new play space that opened up near me in the south side of Milwaukee area. And
Is that the one we did the event?
yep,
Yep.
Taxi and Tide. They're amazing. So if you get a chance, visit Taxi and Tide while you're in town with your loved ones this break.
Yes.
They're excellent.
And they've been
Jamie
good.
and Crystal.
They've supported you. You supported
Yep.
them.
Yes.
You guys, it was a great event and you were a big part of that. for
Yeah,
them.
we did Pete's Pops. I thought it was an excellent collaboration. Pete's Pops is in the
Oh, that's
baby
right. We
side.
sponsored Pete's Pops.
We
That's
did. We
right.
did Pete's Pops and gift card giveaways to them. And because I knew Crystal, one of the partners over there from my daycare that I still take my daughter to, it was an easy collaboration. And it just happened that they actually opened up down the street from me where I live.
That was perfect.
So it's perfect. And then same thing, working with La Finca, putting on a little buyer meet and greet at my local coffee shop is amazing. Getting into my community that way and working with one of my lenders, speaking to, different people in our community who don't know a lot about the housing market, but they want to establish their families here and they don't know how to do it, So getting one of my lenders that really knows the community routes that way and working with grant programs, helping get, I-10 customers.
Right.
That access and that information is huge.
Absolutely.
So a lot of renters in my area, right? So a lot of people want to get out of that and move into that. And I empathize with that because that was me too. I rented like all my life.
Right.
My parents actually didn't own a home together until we were adults.
Most people do that generation after generation because that's what they see.
Yep.
Right?
Right.
So you're here, we're mediators to come in between that.
Yeah.
I love to see, I see 20 to 25-year-olds, most of them buying 2-family homes. That's their first property.
Yep.
It's the smartest thing to do. If I could rewind time, gosh, I wish I could go back.
I
and
know.
do that. I would, in my single days, I would have moved every 2 years and bought a house.
Same. I should have done that.
I would have did it for like, when I was single, when I didn't get married. Yeah, I would have had 20 years of doing that.
I know my spouse tried to convince me of that when we were home shopping, but I was already pregnant and we were expecting and we already had neighbors we lived in above us and it was a nightmare. And that was the reason why we were even considering moving was because it was like a freight train above our heads. But we loved the apartment in the area. Like we had a view and nature channel outside our yard, but same thing. We wanted the home ownership. We just wanted kind of, our home to ourselves. Right. But he was trying to get me into a duplex. And I was like, no, I'm done. I'm done renting. I'm done living near people. Right. Like right on top of me or underneath me. But I look back and I'm like, we should have done it.
Yeah, I probably would have been the loud one back then. So I wouldn't have been too worried about it.
Yeah. But to your point, then I would have missed out on the house we're in now. And the house we're in now was exactly what we wanted at the time. We wanted the space because his parents like to visit from out of town. And they like to stay with us. That's just how they grew up. Yeah. His dad's Italian. So, it's family, right? So that was important to us. So it's good that we're in. But like you said, now we're making up time. We got the other property we liked near us. So.
Yeah. I mean, if you even set a goal to just do one property a year, which is doable.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Some people have big goals. Like I don't have a big desire to have like 100 doors. I have a 20-door goal.
Yeah, I would say, 15 to 20 is comfortable for me, like you said, unless I want to move into bigger multifamilies, right? And then condense some of that, sell it off, and move into like a 10 to 15 unit, put some of that into it instead, and kind of do it that way. Right. Which is also doable. I have another client who reached out to me recently and he's ready. He's ready to dip into the market in Milwaukee because I kept talking to him about how everybody's doing it from out of state.
And I think he obviously saw you were doing it personally, so that didn't hurt either.
Nope. I explained to him, same thing, the process and what I did to win, and shared some of that once it closed, obviously. Right. And then, he talked to his partner and he's like, all right, we're ready. Send me what you have. Nice. And it's exciting because I thought he was talking duplexes and he goes, no, I want like 6 family or more. I'm like, oh, okay, great.
Well, we'll have to introduce, we'll connect you with Perry on the team. Right. He's got his ear on the street with off-market stuff like that. So
yeah, exactly. So I did. We talked with Perry on one of our team calls and Perry and I are starting to talk about that. And
nice.
Yeah, and work on that. So
Collaboration.
absolutely. And I think too, in the Milwaukee area, people think, oh, I'll wait till spring, and they think like March or April, May. No, in our market, it starts end of January
Right.
to mid-February.
I'm already in spring.
It's already in spring, right? People are already done with winter. They're ready to leave, move to their Florida or Arizona or whatever, and also just ready to get into a house and get out of the house. People are sick of being in the house.
Exactly.